If you don't use it, you'll lose it. Hello everyone, this is Jeff, and this is another episode of AZ Boomer Adventure. Today we are seeing more cases of Alzheimer's and dementia happening in our senior populations. So there's some factors that are behind this. One of them is people are living longer, so the odds are you're going to see more Alzheimer's and dementia happening. Secondly, people are eating a lot more processed foods and things and putting stuff into their body that actually is not healthy, and if your body's not healthy, your brain's not going to be healthy. And the last thing is stress. Stress can do all sorts of things to your health as well as your brain. And so we're seeing a lot more stress in what's going on in the world and how we're dealing with stuff. So those are factors that are happening. Many of these things we can take care of ourselves. We can help prevent them. We can deal with stress. We can look at the foods and stuff we're putting into our body. And for a long time, scientists focused on, okay, what's causing Alzheimer's? And they're looking at aluminum, they're looking at chemicals, they're looking at all this stuff. And yeah, you can stop yourself from taking those sort of things and doing stuff that gets you into that, and that's kind of preventative. But they weren't quite sure what's happening and what's causing it. And another big factor is genetics. In previous careers that I've had, I ran an Alzheimer's daycare center. I was also the Elder Education and Prevention Coordinator for Green Valley, Arizona. And while I was working in that career, my mom sent me an article, and it was called the Nun Study. It was a Time magazine article in 2001. And the actual, it's about 678 nuns and one scientist who looked at ways of preventing Alzheimer's. And it was started back in like 1986 is when the study was started, but it was 2001 when the article came out in Time magazine. And this gentleman, I think it was Dr. Snowden, was really interested in what these nuns were doing and how these nuns, many of them living longer than normal people would, and not getting dementia, while some of the nuns were. Some of the nuns had Alzheimer's and dementia, but quite a few were not getting it, and they were getting into their 80s and 90s. Now, granted, here's how it works. If you get into your 80s and 90s, the odds are you're going to have Alzheimer's or dementia. It's what happens. But how your brain deals with it is really important. And how you're working with your brain and keeping your brain fit is a big factor in how long it takes for the disease to affect you. So you could live a very healthy life, keep your brain strong and do all sorts of things, and you can make it into your hundreds. Some of these people now are, I'm seeing 110-year-olds, one of the oldest people right now, and we're seeing things on the news right now for all the time for birthdays for people that are turning 100 years old, and it's not uncommon where it used to be uncommon. But a lot of them are staying sharp. And this study, the Nun Study, it was started with the nuns of Mankato, and the Dr. Snowden looked at a variety of different things in their lives. And one of the things that he had privy to was their diaries and what they wrote and the dialogue that they had in their diaries. He found some key factors that were important in how these nuns lived longer and stayed sharp compared to the ones that didn't. In the diaries, he noticed that some of the nuns wrote with a very expanded vocabulary, using a lot of positive ways of expounding upon their experiences and looking at their lives. while others just used some basic vocabulary and described things in very basic manners. And some of them had sort of a negative twist in what they were writing in life and how they looked at life. What he found was the nuns that used an incredible vocabulary had more of an education and wrote in a positive manner. They wrote in a positive manner. They tended to not get Alzheimer's. And amazingly enough, the ones that didn't write in a positive way, that didn't use a lot of vocabulary and express themselves in a wide way, tended to get Alzheimer's sooner. So there were other factors they looked into in the way of food and what they were eating, and they led simple lives. And one of the things they also addressed and they found was brain trauma. So those nuns that possibly had some sort of brain trauma when they were younger, or throughout the years, and maybe car accidents or this or that, or fell off a horse, who knows, all sorts of different things. They found the ones that had brain trauma also had a higher tendency to get Alzheimer's. And then the last thing was genetics. They found that those that had genetics in their Alzheimer's in their genetic line tended to have a higher frequency of Alzheimer's. So those were the three main factors that they found. But what they were getting at is, what could we do about it? So how do we stop our brain from shrinking or getting atrophy? The funny thing is that from puberty on, our brain tends to prune itself. It goes through and it cleans out parts of the brain that aren't being used very much. It's just a natural thing it does. And as we age, of course, there's not as much there. So that's kind of scary. If you're not doing anything and you're not learning and you're not working on things and you're just kind of watching TV all day and not really enjoying life, your brain's going to atrophy. For years we were told, if you do drugs or drink alcohol or have major brain trauma and stuff like that, that once you lose it, it's gone. Well, they have found that that's not necessarily true. You can rebuild neurons. Your brain is very elastic in the way it works and malleable around working around problems in your brain. And they found some incredible things that happen that your brain does to keep things going. And if you keep learning and keep expanding your knowledge, your brain will continue to build new pathways and more gray matter. And so it's important to keep that going. The nuns in the study lived very simple lives. They grew a lot of their own food, ate very good food, not a lot of processed foods and things like that. They exercised regularly, and they also kept their brains going. They were teaching classes, they were expanding their knowledge, and they were writing curriculum into their 80s and 90s. Some of them were writing letters to the presidents and doing all things, involved in politics, doing lots of stuff, but keeping their brains very active. So what I learned over the years of working in Alzheimer's and working with the senior population is your attitude makes a huge difference. If you can stay positive, if you can be that fun person or that very nice person, rather than being looked at as that grouchy old person, you're going to live a much longer, better life. If you can learn something new every day, keep learning, expanding your brain, expanding your world, expanding your mind. The way you do that is through new things. Try something new, learn a new skill, take on a new task. That's the cool thing about YouTube that I'm finding, is that I'm able to sit here and do new videos and do all sorts of things. Yes, I had a career or my undergraduate degree was in radio and television, and I kind of started in this area, but I didn't follow it and I didn't keep up with it. So a lot of the stuff I'm having to do today, I'm learning again. And I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot from a lot of the young millennials that are doing these YouTube channels. And it's pretty cool. You can do it. There's all sorts of hobbies out there on YouTube now. There's pottery and jewelry, and there's exercises, and there's something for everybody. It doesn't matter your age. You can find something on YouTube and you can learn something new. And if you can learn something new every day, you're going to help prevent losing your mind, losing that muscle between your ears. You want to keep it powerful. You want to keep it strong. So get out there, exercise, eat right, take care of yourself. I talked a little bit about genetics. You can't do much about genetics, but you can if you know it's in your family. You can keep yourself, work on actually being healthier, making sure your heart health, making sure you're getting the exercise, eating properly, doing all the things you should, because you know you have even more of a tendency. If you've had a traumatic brain injury, something happened, you knocked your head, who knows, you were a rodeo clown or something like that, all sorts of things, a boxer. You need to get out there and be preventative. Keep working on learning new stuff, building that gray matter, building those neurons. Don't just give up. Get into retirement. I'm not there yet, but if you get into retirement, don't just retire. Retire to me is going to bed. Learn something new. Do some new, challenge yourself. Get out there and try something. Because if you're going to just sit there and watch TV all day long, you're not. Your brain's going to shrink. Now, if you get on the computer and watch YouTube videos and learn how to do things, I've been doing some incredible stuff. I got in, we had some plumbing problems in my house, got on some YouTube videos, fixed the issues. I had to put a new hitch on my car. Got on YouTube, learned how to do it. I'm learning all the time. It's incredible. It's a great feeling when you learn to do something on your own and not have to pay a plumber. So get out there. You can do it. Life's an adventure. And as a boomer, it never stops.